And make sure you get some different tables.
There.
And then I wrote some. On the way to the DMV, well, that was like organized this thing. I think this is just like some random shit. And then I think that's what it is.
I think it might have gotten a little. Okay, good.
Okay, they all coming out at the same time. I'm in the front. I'm crying.
Appreciate it.
Sometimes, but I gotta tell you, inside, I don't feel so I don't know how people are coming out okay, but just inside, I've been trying to get the word in my own brain, but I feel and I have and it just drives me. That was my stuff, please.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the March 23rd, 2026 meeting of the School District of Menomonee Falls Board of Education. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Blesky, was the meeting properly posted?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. This is a regular meeting of the School District of Menomonee Falls Board of Education. It's being held in the Village Hall Boardroom at West 156 North 8480 Pilgrim Road in Menomonee Falls, Wisconsin. This meeting will be broadcast by Falls Cable Access and can be viewed live on the School District of Menomonee Falls YouTube page. To watch the recorded meeting, please visit our website at www.fallsschools.org/board and click on Watch School Board Meetings or Committee Meetings Live on YouTube. Mr. Blesky, can you please do a roll call attendance?
Board President Grant. Board Member Wren.
Here.
Board Member Wappert.
Here.
Board Member Langer.
Here.
Board Member Kramer.
Here.
Board Member Holzman.
Here.
Thank you. And Board Member Schmeling is excused this evening. All right, I do need a motion to approve today's meeting agenda.
I'll make the motion.
All right, motion has been made by Board Member Langer. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
And seconded by Board Member Holzman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that passes. Okay, and are there any additional public comment forms? I have one this evening. Otherwise, this is the last point that it'll be accepted. No? Okay, thank you. And we do have some very special guests tonight for the finest, and it looks like Mr. Munoz will be kicking off that presentation.
Yeah, we have several students here. We're excited to have a lot of Riverside Elementary students here. I'm going to call up Mr. Walter right now, who will start with the presentation. mean, generally, this group is called the Riverside Admirals Leadership Club. And according to Mr. Walter, he'll get into more detail that they do a lot of amazing things for the Riverside community. I didn't get a chance to talk to all of them. I got to talk to most of them, but they seem like outstanding young students. So we're excited to hear about this presentation and give out the awards.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Munoz. In the spirit of leadership, I'm not going to talk much. They are actually going to tell you about themselves and what they do, along with Mrs. Baker, our school counselor. But I'm just really excited to bring our fifth graders to the meeting tonight, and thank you for the opportunity. We talk every first day of school, and I firmly believe whether we've been a third through fifth grade school or kindergarten through fifth grade school, the fifth graders really set the tone for the building. Everybody looks up to them, and you can kind of tell how the year is going by judging how our fifth grade is going. And this year, we talk about leadership the first day of school, and we just have a fine group of leaders this year. And this is a really good representative sample of them. And they started kind of more of a leadership club outside of our Admirals, kind of an advisory council with Mrs. Baker, our school counselor this year. But they are truly some of our finest, and I'm excited. Been excited to watch them grow the last 3 years, and excited to bring them here tonight. But they're going to tell you all that they do. I think the cool thing about it is, I don't know if you've heard, but at the elementary level, recess is kind of a big deal. And they give up. They don't give up all the recesses, but they give up, some of that time, especially with the weather here turning nice, to do a lot of service projects, and they'll tell you about that. But service is really important to us, an important lesson for them, and they give up a lot of their time, when they're outside of their class time, when they're studying, to give back to others. So I just really appreciate them, their leadership, and them being here tonight. So thank you. So I'm going to let Mrs. Baker talk if she.
So, thank you for all your work.
Your number, right? So you're going to go down. See your numbers on there. I'll give it the mic.
The Admirals is a leadership club that any fifth grader can join. Because we have so many fifth graders, we have two different groups, one that runs first semester and one that runs second semester. Both groups get opportunities to be leaders at school in different ways.
So far this year, the Admirals have done some pretty great things. Each group gets to plan, organize, and execute a service project. The first semester group ran a food drive right before Thanksgiving, and all the food items collected were donated to the Menomonee Falls Food Pantry. We collected nearly 3,000 food items that got delivered on November 25th.
The Admirals had to prepare for the food drive by helping get boxes into each classroom, passing out flyers, and get assigned to a classroom for pickups. During the week of the food drive, we had to go into each classroom and collect the donated items, count them, and neatly stack them into boxes up by the front office. We also got to read announcements over the PA.
Every fall, Mrs. Oratel from the rec department always asked for help from the Admirals at the Senior Enrichment Fair. This is kind of a big deal because it falls on a day when we don't have school. This year, there were about 12 fifth graders that went on their day off to help the senior citizens at the fair. It was a really great experience, and those that worked hard got great reviews.
The first semester group also got to read announcements for the Red Ribbon Week, which is a time for schools all over the country to celebrate making good, healthy choices. We also got the opportunity to help our school by helping our PE teacher keep the playground equipment in good shape. Every Friday, a small group is sent to classrooms to collect the playground equipment, bring it back to the gym, and get everything cleaned up, pumped with air, and ready to be played with again. This is something that both groups get to do.
The second semester group is in the middle of their time as Admirals and have been pretty busy. They are also helping every Friday with playground equipment so that every grade level has well-kept equipment to use at recess. We were also able to help Miss Oratel in the community center again near Valentine's Day by passing out roses to senior citizens that were there attending the Friday activities. The second semester service project is a penny war with all proceeds going towards the Riverside/Ben Franklin Scholarship Fund. Any senior that is a Riverside alumni and is graduating and going on to a college or teach tech school can apply for this scholarship. For the past several years, we've collected enough money to give out 6 $500 scholarships. That's a lot of money.
It is.
Penny War is a crazy time at Riverside. Every day that week, the Admirals have to tally the points for every classroom. Pennies and paper money give a classroom points, while silver coins take points away. The Admirals are very responsible for helping organize every part of the Penny War. We help pass out flyers, do announcement, and count the points every day during our recess time.
It gets pretty competitive, especially because the classroom that earns the most points wins a prize. The Admirals also get to decide what the prize is, so it is different every year. This year, the prize is 30 minutes of extra recess, which has a lot of students excited, especially with better weather coming. Just recently, it was suggested that we have a group of students serve as an advisory committee so that teachers at Riverside can have student leaders to bounce ideas off of. This group of students here tonight are not only Admirals from both semesters, but also members of the advisory committee. We've only met a few times, but we've come up with some great ideas on how to make Riverside an even better place to go to school for both students and staff. We are pretty excited about this group. Any questions?
Why don't you give us your names? Why don't you go one at a time and tell everybody your names?
I'm Graciela. I'm Isla.
I'm Morelia.
I'm Lane.
I'm Josie.
I'm William.
And does anybody have any questions for the group, the board at all? I'm sure they're extremely precocious. I'm saying they could.
I'm wondering how the kids get chosen for this.
So any fifth grader can be an Admiral. So
Okay.
they decide at the beginning of the school year. I do have to break them into 2 groups just because we have so many. So in each group, I probably have 50 students that are Admirals. Yeah. And then the advisory committee was picked by their class. I asked the teachers to give me 2 students that were Admirals that could be leaders in the advisory committee, and most of the, I believe, did all of your classes vote? No. Some teachers picked. I know Mrs. Price's class did, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I just have to give kudos to Mrs. Baker too. So we have really good counselors in the falls, K through 12. I could say obviously it's a really good team, but kudos to Mrs. Baker too, who this has been a passion project of hers to work with the Admirals in the way that she empowers our kids and works with them and gives up. I don't know how she gets it all done, but she does a lot and just empowers kids too. And the student voice is really important to her too. So thank you to Mrs. Baker.
Awesome. Why don't we give them a round of applause? We'll take. Yep, back up this way. They're going to take a picture from over there. There you go. Nope, you can go over there. There you go. Right there. There you go. All right.
Thank you guys.
Moms and dads want any pictures? It's okay. Yep, jump up. Moms and dads back. Right. My kids are grown and clone, but I remember the days, so. There you go. You guys are fine. Let them take their pictures. You'll understand someday. Yep, let them. That's good. You're good. There you go. There you go.
And then we have another group as well, right?
Actually, it's more a person.
Person, okay.
Mr. Gebauer is going to speak to the National Merit Scholarship finalist, who's unable to make it, largely because probably too busy doing those things that got them to be National Merit Scholarship finalists. But that being said, I'm going to have Mr. Gebauer walk through what it is and why this student was so very deserving of that national award. Mr. Gebauer.
Good evening. Nishan Suthan is our national merit finalist for this year, and so our national merit finalists are the top 1% of our PSAT scores. And to become, so everyone is a semifinalist. To become a finalist, you have to go through a couple of different pieces to do that. So you have to maintain a very high GPA. Nishan's is 4.8 weighted, so he definitely did that. You submit an essay, you get recommendations, and then you do well on the SAT and the ACT. So when we say doing well for him, perfect score on the SAT, perfect score on the ACT. So no room for any doubt there at all. And that perfect score on the SAT came when he was a sophomore at the high school too. So one quick story on him though, I do remember talking to him and asking him like, so how does one get a perfect score? And he put some time into studying for that test. I mean, it was hours and hours and hours a day, weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. So like anything, Nishan definitely exhibits like just the grit, the hard work, the work ethic that you want to see everyone come out with. Interestingly, I pulled some of his stats. I started looking and started listing the clubs he's in, but I'd be here for about 10 minutes talking about them all. But what some high school students do if they exhaust their classes at the high school, they'll go on to colleges to take classes during the school year. And right now he's in linear algebra and differentiated equations. My wife's a math teacher. I asked her what that was. She started telling me and I'm like, just stop. It sounded very complex. But one of the pieces that he's also taking this year, which blows me away, is organic chemistry. And if you know anything about organic chemistry, it is like the class you take if you want to get into medical school. And this is usually when you're in college, you're taking these courses. He's taking this as a high school senior right now. So he also is taking sign language. He's learning sign language right now too at UWM. So just a student who just exhibits an absolute ravenous appetite for just an intellectual curiosity. He will go on and do fantastic things in the future. I wish you could have seen him tonight. He is just a fascinating person to hear from, but he's just a wonderful student. So thank you for letting me tell you about Nishan.
And it does exemplify actually the high school in terms of, and I know the board knows this already, and we have those numbers out there in terms of the community, some of the highest growth rates of any school in the state of Wisconsin, any high school in the state of Wisconsin, and the achievement rates are also off the charts. So kudos to the staff, the teachers, obviously Mr. Bauer and his team, and all the students and families that are contributing to that success over multiple years.
All right, thank you. All right. And then we'll move on to reports. So do we have any reports from board members this evening?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's been a while since we've had a meeting. I got to go to the robotics, I believe it was a scrimmage at Sussex, and I've never been to a robotics competition, but just the engagement from our staff, the students, community members, and just the engineering prowess, like that was in Sussex Hamilton High School, was, I had never been to one of those. I know we had a demo last year, but that was absolutely amazing. And so just kudos to Miss Bell for, she was explaining just all the extra hours they put in, her and her staff and the volunteers and the students, so that's amazing. Then I got an opportunity to participate in the high school career fair, and just a shout out to Lisa Kiefer and the Business Advisory Council. Like, they put together a flawless morning, really great engagement from the students, very, very well run career day to, again, show students what they can do after high school. And then Hoopalooza was a wonderful teacher exhibition, as always, of basketball prowess. And I had to explain to my daughter why she didn't win the raffle basket when she put 5 whole tickets in. And I don't think they've quite gotten to probability yet. That was a hard one to explain, but I put in 5 whole tickets. So anyways, hats off to especially Miss Bell and Lisa Kiefer.
Anyone else? Okay, then the next up is Superintendent Munoz.
Yeah, and also standing, I have a little presentation at the end of my report, which is a little different, but we'll get to that in just a second. Community Ed and Rec, I'm going to say this twice because I know, having been here 3 years now, that this is a big thing, very big in this community. So Community Ed and Rec Summer Activity Guide is scheduled to go out, and resident registration opens online April 12th at 9 p.m. I think Jason is here. I'm going to say it again. Community Ed and Rec Activity Guide is scheduled to go out, and resident registration opens online on April 12th at 9 p.m. That's all online. And I'm only saying that twice, and I'm actually quite serious about it. You know, Community Ed and Rec does an outstanding job. It's also where our summer school programs come through, and it's you know, get there right at 9 o'clock. If you want to get into those programs, get there right at 9 o'clock. We only have so much space, all right? So that's great. So all 612 Menomonee Falls School District choir students performed on Tuesday the 17th. I was happy to be there. It was a wonderful performance, packed crowd at the high school auditorium. So I had some pictures there for the board online, and I know there's at least one out there on the district website as well, but they really did a wonderful job. It's always good to see all three of our 612 music groups do things like this, where they have all of the students from all of the grades, you know, performing, and to see the growth over time is always wonderful to see. So that was fun to be there on the 17th of March. The community center grand opening went really wonderfully, and it was great to have so many community members that regular users of this community center. And the Community Ed and Rec is a division of the School District of Menomonee Falls, but the vast majority of the programming is not for students or, you know, they're bingo. There's any number of different programs, so many programs that run through Community Ed and Rec. It was great to see, you know, regular users there as well. I know the inside walking track is working 3 days a week, so that's outstanding. And a lot of things have come online. So if you haven't had a chance, stop out Community Ed and Rec. It's a really wonderful facility for the community. A couple of other things. High school robotics. You know, they finished 10th out of 34 teams. I don't know how they did in Appleton. I know that was this weekend. So I haven't, maybe you have that. Okay, we'll let the students do that. But I know they had a place in the top, like a 13 or 10th or something like that, in order to make it to the next level, but the students seem to have all that. Congratulations to our FBLA middle school team for being 10-time state champions. So when I first got here, it was 8-time state champions, 9-time, and I'm like, I keep talking to them. So I went over and talked to the younger business teachers over there, and I'm like, guys, yeah, we were a little nervous. You know, one was a first-year teacher, but not a new teacher to teaching. The other one is his second year in that environment. So it was really great that they were able to continue the tradition of winning middle school state champion FBLA team for 10 straight years. So a lot of the kids did wonderful jobs, a lot of information online about that. Another big thing that we're doing with small groups that choose to do it voluntarily, it's the Chi 11 Save a Heart mission, which is, we had some donations and some saved dollars by getting full AEDs in our entire district. But one of the things this Chi 11 Save a Heart mission does is, if students choose to do it, they can have, you know, their heart rhythms and everything checked to see if there's any issues, obviously with parents' permission and things like that. But if you go online, K11 Save a Heart mission, you know, out of 300 students usually measured anywhere they go, there's always something that comes up. Obviously they refer the families and the doctors, but it's always good to know. It's a great service that's provided by this group. So two more things. One from the state level, and I'll just read it the way I wrote it here. And this was a new article that came out, but I continue to be encouraged by conversations on both sides of the political spectrum to increase special education funding, perhaps sooner rather than later. I've attached a recent article. There's several articles out there about conversations and political chatter. It appears rebate checks, I guess, and special education funding are being talked about in the same breath. Obviously, our concern is not rebate checks. I mean, if that happens, that's not my thing, but it's special education funding. So I'm encouraged because it seems like there is consensus on both sides of the aisle about increasing special education funding. and I think that's a good start, know where that goes. So I just put that note in there that we'll see where it goes. We'll see where that goes. So the last part, and before I call Mr. Halverson up here, I'm going to read a few things. We have a few presentations that he's already received, but for those that aren't aware, Mr. Halverson is the Director of Student Services here. But before coming to the school district in Menomonee Falls, he was a school principal for over 20 years, mostly in Racine, Lake Country, Pewaukee, South Milwaukee, 10 years about at Fort Atkinson as a high school principal. So a lot of experience as a principal. He came to us as Student Services Director, and he's won a statewide award called the Wisconsin State Safety Coordinator of the Year Award. So it was an outstanding award. I happened to be able to get out, get over to the presentation, and I'm just going to read a few things, then bring Dan up here. I know he has a few things to say. In a significant shift toward proactive student protection, Mr. Halverson has spent the last 2 years transforming the District of Menomonee Falls safety landscape. Moving beyond baseline compliance, Halverson has established sophisticated, high-readiness security culture that replaces legacy processes and fragmented protocols with unified district-wide vision. And I will add to that, he always does it with a laugh and a smile and a half joke, and the principals know this, largely because it's more about consistency. It's more about consistency with school safety, and it's something that I know he would say this, that the principals do an outstanding job. Our relationship with the police department is at the highest level, and that's part of this as well. He's now a certified WSSCA school safety coordinator, but on top of that, there's multiple members of our district staff that are now safety coordinators, including our building and ground staff. There's different district trainings that he's pipelined and gotten in here, including the U.S. Secret Service presenting to our entire staff, which was a good presentation. We had to do some online stuff due to some budget cuts, but that seemed to go pretty well with our staff, the local Red Cross, local police department, fire departments, and he's really going above and beyond, not just recognized by us, but by the state for doing great things for students here in regards to school safety. I'll also note that one of our highest marks, and I'll get to this in our presentation on the strategic plan, one of the highest marks in our survey that went to parents in a recent parent caregiver survey in the Tox box was for safety improvements year over year. It was a 7.85% increase in positive feedback from parents about our safety from last year to this year. So that was exciting feedback. We'll get to that later in our strategic plan update. Without further ado, I'm going to call Mr. Halverson up here. Let's give him a round of applause for receiving this well-deserved award. I think he has a few words. He's usually a man of a few words.
Are you going to take your own picture?
It could.
We'll get to the picture after a few words, but thank you.
Well, I think we should first start off with, evidently everybody knew I was coming to give a speech, and the good news for everyone here is we are well within our occupancy limit in the room tonight, so we all get to stay, at least for now. So, you know, to be honest, I usually spend most of my day worrying about things like door barricades and, you know, implement weather protocols, or maybe like a middle or high school student that wonders why his vape pen can't be considered a science project. So I think that this award really, when it came up, was not only an honor, just because of the quality of safety coordinators in the state of Wisconsin, but also because of the organization. When you think about how many school districts there are in the state of Wisconsin, and the WSCA, Wisconsin School Safety Coordinator Association, is probably one of the biggest, and it's definitely one of the oldest organizations that has a focus on that in the state of Wisconsin. So it's also very humbling to get an award like that. When you're at the actual presentation, one of the things that came up this year is they normally would give you heads up if you're going to have to give a speech. They did not give a heads up that I had to give a speech, so you guys are going to be the unfortunate recipients of most of that tonight. When we were on stage, there was a school resource officer that did give a speech. I think it was more of a dissertation than anything else. But when they offered me to give the speech, I'm like, no, I'm good, because I didn't bring the speech with me. And as I was walking off the stage, one of them said, well, we don't want to offend you. And I said, well, absolutely not. So the whole audience, when they heard, do you want to give a speech? They hear me saying, for 500 people in the audience, absolutely not. As I walk off stage taking the award, and David made sure to that I was going to give the speech tonight. So you're going to hear some of that. So when you're in this room, you really have a lot of people, a lot of professionals, whether they're police officers, law enforcement, school administrators, school teachers, anything like that, building and grounds people. You know, it's really not about just the people there. It's really about a culture of safety. You know, for us, the best days are the quiet days where there's very little things going on. But it really comes at the expense of a lot of hard work and months of preparation and lots of drills and a lot of difficult conversations. So when you think about it, that success is never, and especially in safety and security, it's never a solo effort. It's really about a group effort and a group focus that goes on. So when you look at what the commitment is for our district, we've really got 4 pillars, and this is the same 4 pillars that WSCA stresses the most. And that's prevention, protection, mitigation, and recovery. And all 4 of those things are equally important throughout whatever it is that we're doing considering safety and security. So, but speaking of solo effort, one of the other things, there's a lot of commitment that's involved, not just in my position, but also for the people around me that keep me from getting committed and have kept me from getting committed over the past 2 years. So before that, I really do want to say thanks to a lot of different people. And that starts off with David. So Superintendent David Munoz, I want to start off just for a big thank you for your unwavering support and for giving me the autonomy to implement the necessary changes, even when that flew in the face of what we were already doing, but also when it meant that we'd have to probably rethink our entire approach to what safety and security looks like district-wide. You know, most bosses will give you a green light. David threw a high visibility vest at me and said, go to work. So that's what I did. It's rare to find a leader, especially in education, who not only understands the complexities of modern security, but then actively empowers teams and team members to do what they need to do to make places safety-oriented and more secure environments. So, David, I just want to say your trust has been the ultimate safety net for me, too. Then there's also the building administrators and staff, and David had mentioned this, too. They've been really the MVPs that earn this award. You know, I could come up with a million different designs. I can write standard response protocols in my sleep, but it's the people in the buildings that are having to implement these things. You know, and that's actually at the same time where, you know, they've got to implement a hold in place while convincing 30 first graders that the entire hallway is not made out of lava as they're trying to get them through the building. So if I'm the architect, really what it boils down to is they're the ones swinging the hammers, whether it's from moving students from drill to drill, whether it's behavioral threat assessments, whether it's making sure every door is latched. They're the ones that are doing the work every day. Speaking of hammers, you know, I think that that would be a good shout out because the hammers, no one's banged the thumb yet, and they've made a nice addition for our go bags that are in every room and every office in the entire district too, so that's pretty good. I also want to thank you, the school board. You know, it takes a forward-thinking group to create a position like mine, you know, a school safety and security coordinator. No, you're not just envisioning some guy that's going around checking expiration dates on fire extinguishers, but instead it's creating an actual position where you're entrusting that we're going to do it in a fiscally responsible manner and make sure that we're creating a better environment for our students and staff alike. You know, by doing this and really recognizing the need for this position, a clear message that the physical and emotional well-being of all of our students is a non-negotiable item and that safety and security is a priority. Your continued investment in our infrastructure and mental health resources provided the foundation, and all I did was add the locks and the drills. So thank you for that. We do this work for the students, everything that we do every single day. We want them to walk into our buildings feeling that they're in a safe haven for learning, not a place of worry. Whether we're refining our standard reunification model or upgrading our digital surveillance, the goal remains the same, ensuring that every child and staff member comes to work, goes home safe every single time. Because of the larger scope of what we deal with in this day and age, I also want to let you guys know that we're going to be expanding our footprint within WSCA. We did apply for a grant right now in hopes of getting our building administrators and additional staff certified through their professional development program. However, we were notified this morning that we did not get that grant. But along with some of the other funding structures in the state of Wisconsin, and very rarely you're going to hear me have a political thing to say, but this is a political thing I'm going to say. So along with what we've had in special ed, to give you kind of a perspective of what the safety and security needs are across the state, this was $15 million that the state put out there. And writing grants is not an easy process. I applied for 3, and out of those 3 grants, one of them was the WSCA application for administration to get certified. So my total that I applied for was less than $60,000 between our digital surveillance upgrades to some of our cyber influence on our door reader system so that they're not able to be code broke. But the amount that was applied for in the state of Wisconsin over a 2-month period was $110 million. So they had $15 million, and $110 million is what the request for the rest of the school districts and other organizations throughout the state of Wisconsin. We won't get into what they were spent on, because I think mine were more important than some of these, but we won't get into the debate about that. I'll let sour grapes fall all they may. But I just want to let you know we are going to be working more with WISCA as we move forward, as we start getting more people trained, more people to be certified, not only as safety coordinators, but also as assessment coordinators, so they can actually assess our grounds and our buildings better. This also is an honor to be recognized by an organization like this, because they really appreciate a well-organized go bag. So that's all I have at this point, other than we have a Happy Gilmore check that they gave me, which was nice. I felt like Happy Gilmore throwing that in the back of my truck. But unless there's any questions that you guys have or anything else.
Any questions from the board? We did get $1,000. It's real money.
It's already spent, by the way. Took about 20 minutes. But it is nice.
So.
1, 2, 3.
All right. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. All right.
And I got that. Got it?
I think looked like there was a question or two.
I was just going to say, congratulations. I mean, for those of us on the board, we've seen the amount of emphasis put into the safety program over the last 2 years, and just applaud, again, your leadership, but it does take an entire team behind you to accomplish the growth that we've experienced, and it is peace of mind. So thank you again for being the steward of that and bringing your energy. So very grateful.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, I want to echo what Shelley said. Thank you personally. I have children in the district, and just knowing what we have in place makes me really secure about sending my kids to our schools. So thank you personally, and I really appreciate everything you've done.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you. All right, and that brings us to our student board members, and I know they have some exciting news to report based on sports as well as activities.
It's kind of what Mr. Munoz already mentioned, where I'd like to give a special congrats to Arsenal of Engineering. This weekend at Appleton, they placed 7th out of 38 at their competition. Path Club has their Rotary Park River event this Saturday, so get excited for that. Ooh. So our drama department is in full working towards their spring play, which is Percy Jackson this year. Our math club did really well at their past events. Alex Grant placed 5th overall, and our JV team placing 2nd overall. Kind of like you mentioned before, Career Day, students at the high school got to choose 4 careers of their interest. I know I personally chose Army, National Guard, registered nurse, and athletic trainer. We got to hear a little bit about, what their career is like on a day-to-day basis and what steps need to be taken to get to that career. So it was super fun.
Yeah, and for sports, we have a lot. But for girls track, they started their season this week. They went to Carthage on Friday for their first meet, and junior Lauren Hilblink got a first place finish on pole vault. For girls bowling, they took 3rd place at state for a team. Senior Olivia Broadbeck finished 4th in singles, and senior Hilton Oswald finished 8th. For gymnastics, Lauren Hilblink placed 10th on her forward team at the state competition and also received a first team All-State. For dance, they finished off an amazing season at the Contest of Champions in Nationals in Orlando, Florida. They took 2nd in medium kick, 3rd in large palm, 4th in medium lyrical, and 5th in large jazz. For the ski team, they competed at state, and the varsity girls team took 15th place, and boys took 20th. Molly Todd placed 49th overall, and they had a strong finishes contributing to their team success overall. For cheer, we competed at state in Green Bay. We took 2nd in our traditional routine and were game day champions for the 4th year in a row. For girls wrestling, Izzy Evich and Malia Hamado competed at state and finished off their amazing seasons. Boys basketball finished off a great season in the playoffs. They beat Homestead in the first round 86-82 and unfortunately lost to De Pere. They finished off a great year. And for boys hockey, senior Ethan Vandenboom received the Hobie Baker Character Award. The award is given to an athlete who embodied coachability, strength of character, integrity, commitment, teamwork, and community building.
Thank you very much. And, if you two are certainly excused at any point in time now or, if you have to leave for an event. So thank you both very, very much. And we'll move now to our discussion items. All right, we have 5 items for discussion this evening. The first one is the Neola Administrative Guidelines 6000s, which I believe are generally focused on finance.
Yeah, are there any questions from the board members, first of all? I know we spent quite a bit of time on this in committee, but there's been very few, if any, changes from committee.
I had one question that I don't believe it was talked about in committee. I think I got all the notes from there. We had struck out 6320H, which was the mileage reimbursement policy, and I understood that that's all handled in Skyward. But I guess I was just, can you, and this is just maybe me not understanding the internal business processes, but like, why don't we still need a policy of how we do mileage reimbursement, even if mileage reimbursement is in Skyward?
It's redundant. I mean, we certainly could. And we have documentation on our intranet that all staff can access. So essentially we'd be taking the same exact document, plugging it in another spot. So if things change, like the mileage rate is on there, it's kind of something that we're finding with our website too. If things are in multiple places, it gets hard to remember what you all have to update when there is a rate change or things like that. So it's in one spot, and that's why that's why. We certainly could put it in multiple places, but then we have more to update. So right now it's on our intranet.
Okay, so Skyward is almost kind of like the documents related to Skyward are essentially internal policy.
Yep, procedure, yep.
Or, yes. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Moving on, we have the Neola Administrative Guidelines 7000s, which again generally speak about property.
Yeah, we had spent quite a bit of time on this in committee. Are there any questions from the board?
I did have one more question, I'm sorry. There was a policy that was struck, it was 7440.03, it was the drones policy. And I know currently we have something on it, and I know there's like state legislation right now also that's, I think it's still pending. I don't know if they've officially voted yes or no on it, but I know there was a law pending in this. So I guess my thought was both from like a student safety and then also from like a arsenal of engineering, like that almost seems like the next frontier of like maybe they'll start doing drone things. But I guess why strike out the drone policy?
So our notes from our conversation regarding the drone policy was that we can always revisit as needed. So right now we decided that it wasn't necessary, but we can always bring it back. Okay. Same with any of the other ones that are struck through.
Yeah, and these are administrative guidelines, they're not policies. Essentially, we felt our policies were strong enough to handle it without an administrative guideline. So these are AGs. You know.
Yes, I'm sorry, I keep saying policy.
No, but that's okay. And I just want to make sure that that's clear, that we're not dealing with any policies today, just administrative guidelines. And most of the time when things are struck like that, there's enough policy framework to cover that, or handbook framework to cover that.
So no relation to the state law that's pending or anything like that?
Or local laws. Okay. You know, if there's a law change in the Neola updates, and we'll see this at the policy committee later this week, that we're actually done drafting, so we're into updates already. So we'll be updating policies that we've already drafted, so that will be our standard procedure in years to come, is these updates. That one will, if there's a law change, it'll be in there, you know.
All right, any other questions on the 7,000s? No? Okay, moving on to the Administrative Guideline 8,000s regarding operations.
I did have one more, I had one question on this one as well. Sorry, I didn't realize I was the only one asking. 8410H. So in the 8410s, there's like it's like a series of policies, most of which were struck. There was like mission statements about having those things that like kind of seem not enforceable, about like early warning signs of violence and things like that, where we kind of struck kind of a lot of Mr. Halverson type things. And 8410H just feels like it's like a suggested things to try with your student. So I was wondering why, of this group of 8410 policies, why do we decide to keep this, what seems to me like a somewhat unenforceable procedure?
That one's it.
That's why.
Oh, so 8410D is what we're talking?
Tips for parents.
Got it. Why don't we let Mr. Halverson speak to that? Because I remember drafting that with him.
Yeah, I love AFC.
Yeah, it's right here.
Got them up, just ready.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, printed? Okay.
Perfect. Yep. This is actually already on our webpage. So when you start looking at the different tips, it's like a tips and techniques for parents for when you start getting different behavioral stuff. This is like where we start going, are we crossing the line and the difference between school and parenting? So when I started looking at it and we started breaking this down, there are some nice tips in there, but there's also things where they're going to be questionable whether that's our role to do or not. So when we started looking through it, there are some things regarding behavioral stuff. There's some things about like after school programming and getting involved. But ultimately, like kind of like what Caitlin says, if there's things that we want to bring up, a lot of this is going to be covered in different places already. It's like when we start looking at what we do in pupil services for special education, we're going to have those recommendations. There's a lot of resources we have from Waukesha County that are on there too. And what happens then is we're going to have to constantly start upfeeding what it is we're going to pick for what we're recommending for this. So for guidelines, we were like, it's probably better if we just kept doing what we're doing and not add another one on.
But we did keep H.
I thought we got rid of H.
No, H isn't.
H is in there.
That was the one we were going to get rid of.
Oh, did I give you the wrong one?
No, that's the right one. That was the one that we were going to get rid of.
H is just titled Tips for Parents.
Yeah.
So I guess that seemed like an odd.
It is, and that was one that we were going to pull.
So that is intended to be struck?
That was one I was going to pull, yeah. And again, back to why we're using them as guidelines instead of policies.
Did I miss that in the committee meeting? I'm sorry if I did.
No.
We're,
Okay, no.
nope, you didn't miss it. We might have on our end. So the question that you had is why are we keeping it?
Yes.
We're not.
We're striking that. Okay.
That one's also at some point.
Okay.
So when we come to approvals, the only difference with the motion is 8410H will be struck.
We need to pull that out.
We just have to make sure it's in the motion, that as discussed.
Yeah, I can make the motion. When I read it, I'll.
So it's 8410H as in hello.
Halverson, as an Halverson.
Halverson.
And why didn't he have it marked right?
That makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
It's like all the rest were struck, and they all seem very
Yeah, that's what I'm missing.
amorphous.
All right.
Okay, any other questions on item, that was D, no, item C? Okay, and then we'll move on to the 2024 through 2029 strategic plan update.
Yeah, we're going to pull a presentation up. I'm going to walk through a few slides, give a general overview, and then I'll turn it over to the directors to go over different sections of the strategic plan update. This is our second of 3 updates of the strategic plan. Now, this is the 2024 to 2029 strategic plan. And in it, we have the overall strategic plan, which we'll reference in a second. But after that, we have links to all the different buildings and all the different departments. The strategic plan is actually linked to every school district's goal setting and every department's goal setting. All right, so that's what this overview is. I'm going to jump in a few things here to start. You go to the second slide. So one of the things we received, we did a survey with our community, with our parents and our caregivers survey, and we have the information back. So some of that information I wanted to jump through, and then that'll lead us into the strategic plan update. We can go to the next slide. So this survey was administered in the spring. It's anonymous. Scored on a scale of 1 to 5, 15 questions, result tabulated by a neutral party, which was Studer Education. So it wasn't tabulated by us, so all the information and data that you're going to receive was done via Studer, which makes it more valid. The goal is to get feedback to determine areas of success and areas of improvement. We can jump to the next slide, get right into the data points. Some of the big things, top box. What does top box mean? It means that when you're measuring, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're rating things, a top box percentage is just what it says, right? Meaning it's not 42%, oh, they're failing. No. Really, 80, look at number 2 first. Top 2 boxes, the percentage of participants who selected both agree and strongly agree. And overall, our top 2 boxes in the survey from the parents was 81.29% were agree or strongly agree with all 15 of the questions, which is a good increase year over year, 76.87 to 81.29. Going back up, it's easier to understand the top box by starting with the top 2 boxes. So, and then obviously there's other boxes with neutral, etc. So the tax box is just that very top one, strongly agree. 42.58 was an increase of from 37.77. And this is the parent caregiver survey. We can slip to the next slide. So number of respondents was up, so we're excited about. So wasn't as high as a couple years ago, but it definitely was higher than last year. So we do like that amount of feedback. Next slide. So participants are listed there, the mean, the tops box percentage. This is just all on one page, so you can get a snapshot of that. We are generally, in all areas, in all 15 questions, there were increases and improving numbers in all areas from the parent caregiver survey, right? So it was extremely good feedback. Doesn't mean that we don't have improvements that we can make. Of course we do. We increased the mean, top box percentage, top 2 box percentage. We can jump to the next slide. So this jumps into some actual questions. And I thought this was important, largely because of the increase on the right. So, and we just referenced this with Mr. Halverson's presentation. I believe this school provides a safe environment for my child to learn. It was a 7.85% increase year over year, which is outstanding. It's one of our 3 highest marks. I believe the teachers, staff, and administration at this school demonstrate a genuine concern for my child. That's one of the larger year over year increases, 6.68%. And I'm treated with respect at this school. We're excited about those increases, and obviously that'll put some pressure on us to continue to do those sorts of, and get that kind of good feedback from parents. Next slide. So the bottom 3 boxes, and what I will reference here, there were increases across the board here as well. So these are the bottom 3. I believe the school rules are enforced consistently. We of course want that to be higher, but it was an increase year over year. So you will note that we are up 2.13% year over year. And obviously there's different numbers for each individual building. Every building principal has numbers for their schools, and we will train it and work on it and reflect on it as a school community. I believe the school is clean and well maintained. Good increase year over year. Good to see that feedback. We'll make sure our building and grounds department here sees that and understands that growth is good, but we always want to be better year over year. If you're comfortable approaching school administration, we of course want that number to be higher, but it is good that that number is higher this year than the previous 2 years. So we're excited about that improvement as well. Those are the bottom 3 for growth and top box percentage. We'll go to the next slide. So this is just the mean average from last spring to this spring. And you can see I'm treated with respect. There's obviously increases there, increases in both of those areas as well, over the mean, the top 3 areas to celebrate. Next slide. So the lowest 3 areas, the mean, you can see once again we're increasing on the mean, which is great. We already talked about that in general. This to shows you the numbers in a mean average from spring to spring. It's good feedback. It's always good to get feedback from our parents. Obviously all of our constituent groups are important, including the board. But the parent caregiver survey, this was generally good feedback. And of course we want to make improvements, which we're excited to put in our plans for the 26-27 school year. Next slide. So this gets into, and this is a little harder to read, but it's actually one of the more important, and this is from Studer. So they put this together, and I'll work through it, Net Promoters. And this, essentially, this is very good information that talks about a good portion of the parents are promoting and saying positive things about the school district of Menomonee Falls. That's what a Net Promoter Score is. They go into it actually in the bottom smaller portion where it says 70 to 100, 50 to 60, excellent and amazing. And you can see that we jumped in our ratings 40.64 up 11.46 is a substantial jump, which we're very happy about, which means we have many more parents saying very good things about the school district of Menomonee Falls this year than last year, and we're excited about that feedback. So in the portion that's embedded in the actual from Studer, it'll explain the rating scale on the bottom. So we were generally sitting in the good range, but room for progress. We've now moved into that next level, which is good, very good. First time we've moved into that level. So that's what a Net Promoter Score is, and that's a Studer product. And yes, I'm the one that agreed to have the yes with the nice little child in the corner with a little mohawk or whatever he's got. Thought it was a cool picture. Reminded me of one of my sons, but they're all grown now and out of the house, so I thought it was a fun picture. We're going to move on to strategic plan update. This one was 24-25 strategic plan update. We're not going to go into detail here because we already did that with the board last year. So this was the completed scorecard, meaning all the green where we're we've successfully done things. Yellow is progress, red we didn't do it and need to do it sort of thing. So you can see the color coding there. So pretty good job on strategic plan last year. We're going to jump into the next slide, which was the slide that we used when we presented to the board in October a few months ago. We gave you a general overview of the work that we were doing with the strategic plan. And now we're going to jump into the next slide. And this is where we're going to focus for our presentation. So we're into March. Obviously, spring break is only a couple days away. You can cheer now, students. Right? Spring break is only a couple days away. You can see that we're well on our way to having very good information to report about our strategic plan progress report, meaning we're in the middle of our strategic plan, 24 to 29 strategic plan. I'm going to have the directors step up and talk about each individual area a little bit in more detail. Then if you have questions for them, please feel free to pose those questions. We'll start with Caitlin, then go to Dan. We'll just go right in order there.
All right, so in the finance and facilities, we focused on a couple items. One was the plan for land, and the other was our new district office location. So I'll start with land. We started with securing appraisals for our district-owned land. Our goal ultimately was to identify our plan. After we identified the values of our land through this appraisal process and had a committee meeting in November, ultimately decided our plan right now is to not sell any land, and our next step moving forward be a long-range facilities planning process. So essentially we take a look at all of our buildings, we look at our capital needs across our buildings, how much essentially work needs to go into each in order to make that a long-range building for us within each of our schools. We look at our enrollment projections, et cetera. So right now our plan is to kind of sit tight on the land that we own in terms of selling it, so not selling land, but moving forward into a long-range facilities planning process.
And some of the reasoning for that, and we already shared that with the board, sorry Caitlin, was that the dollar amounts that we received just based on the different situations for each of the properties, TJ's, Hiawatha, and the one out on Menomonee Avenue, weren't at this time as high as, it just didn't make sense to move in that direction. Doesn't mean we can't do that in the future, if that's the board's decision in the future, but the long-range facility plan, it's going to be an important next step that we jump into this year, going into next year really, over the summer or into next year, because that'll be linked to the 10-year capital improvement plan, right? And eventually that Fund 46. So we already have a pretty good layout of our 10-year capital improvement plan. This long-range facility study is that overarching piece that takes all of those things into account, including enrollment projections and housing units and that sort of thing. So that's an important next step.
Absolutely. And then the other piece is obviously moving into and establishing our new district office. So at the time when we were writing our strategic plan, our scorecard, and our goals for the year, we were still exploring where we would be. We partnered with the realtor to understand what does the commercial space look like right now in terms of leasing, in terms of buying. What does it look like to build? We explored all the options on the tight timeline that we had, and reviewing all of our information to make the most financially sound long-term decision for our district office, which, as we know, we landed at Ben Franklin, so existing square footage is the most financially responsible way to essentially create a new space for us. So we didn't displace any classrooms, which is amazing, and right now we are in the process of all of the logistical planning that goes with moving a space. So that is from, determining what envelopes you need to purchase and stop purchasing right now and the address on there, to notifying our auditors that when they come for our final field work in August, we'll be in a different location, and everything in between. So great progress working with all of our partners on that, with our construction team, with our owner's rep, with Building Solutions, and making sure that we are communicating that as we can with all of the different stakeholders involved. So.
On that note, little progress report on the new district office, that most of the steel stud walls are up, and I was in there last week, we all were, and things are moving very quickly in terms of having that up and ready. So it seems like the entire fire system for all of Ben Franklin, if the board will remember that was like a $400,000-ish piece of the project that we weren't aware of, that's all getting completed over spring break. So that piece has been fast forwarded to happening now. So a lot of big pieces will be completed by the end of spring break already there.
Yep.
Thank you. Any questions for Caitlin? Any of those items? Okay. Mr. Halverson.
Okay, so for ours, right now, we are actually headed in a very good direction on pretty much all of them except for one. And we talked about this in the Student Support Services Committee meeting. Right now, we do have a mobile app for Final Site. Due to a delay with Google and for our droids and for our Apple iPhone approvals on whether the app could get created or not, it put a delay on whether we had our timeline that we were looking at having it roll out at semester 4. So rolling a brand new mobile app out in February is not ideal. So right now we're actually deciding whether we want to or not. It's free. It's not costing us anything other than time that was used to create it. It is operational. We just don't know that it's going to be functional for what we want to accomplish. You may remember one of the communication survey results that came out of last year when we started looking at communication overall was that there was too many apps and too many communications from different directions hitting our families. So we made a very conscious effort to streamline that at the secondary level with Schoology, and then now this year we started with elementary level with Class Dojo was the app that we were moving forward with, and are having very, very good results on it.
So we've had good feedback from parents on that. That came out of the strategic plan, that at the time we did the strategic plan in 2024, there were many other things coming at parents, and it was information overload. They didn't know where to, it even came up specifically from parents that sat on the strategic plan. They just had to delete a lot of stuff because they didn't know where to focus. So by paring down, we've gotten good feedback about that. The actual app came up in strategic planning for the website. Do we have an app? Well, we do, but we're in the process, and that's the only part that's marked red there in the middle.
That will be evaluating whether we actually do it or not.
Yep.
Because again, it's not costing us anything. It's neat, but we don't really know that it's functional compared to what we've got in place right now. So that's one of the hesitations why it's in red still.
We don't want to input something to make it worse than what we have now, but we do have access to an app through Final Site, but that'll be coming up through, I think, Student Services Committee.
Yep. And the other things that we have other aspects for attendance and behavioral infractions, we're always working on improving those. So those are just marked as a progression instead of an accomplishment. And we'll follow up on how that goes in here.
Any questions for Mr. Halverson? Discipline, attendance, communications, obviously school safety. We had a little presentation about that already.
The only quick question I have is actually about the app. So I know that right now, when you're looking at doing like attendance through Power School, you can't go through the app. The website application portal would not fix that. then, correct?
Correct.
It's still separate from Power School itself?
Yep. So one of the things with the Power School app that would be really, really nice is if we could actually use the Power School app to input information. Because right now we're having to do it through what we've created in a parent portal through Power School. But it does not allow for that through the app itself, and that's on Power School's end. It would be ideal. We can still do it, we can still do it through a web browser and get access to a parent portal, but just not through the app. So unfortunately, that's kind of in Power School's court right now, whether or not they're going to allow for that to happen. And as it seems, they basically have told us over and over, we are, from their cybersecurity standpoint, they are an out push, not an input type thing as a system. So that's one of the reasons why they're having some hesitation there too.
We'll continue to look at the app. There haven't been any final decisions on it, but it's an interesting thing that's available from Final Site. I know that we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a very good communication tool internally for sure, just like for principals and administrators. It's very quick and very fast, but that's about the scope of it. It's kind of like a messenger service almost for what we'd have through Google or what we'd have through Microsoft. Like a chat almost.
But it should stay on this. It was part of our strategic plan feedback from families specifically, that ease and stream of communication. There is a Class Dojo app.
Yep.
So we've streamlined communication specifically with elementary parents. So that is much better than the hodgepodge it was 3 years ago, because there was all these different things going on. We just did the one now, and obviously one for secondary. So it has been streamlined, but we are still looking at it. Any other questions at all for Mr. Halverson? I think Leah? Yep, I can't turn my head that way.
I was going to make Alan go.
So human resources, staff?
Yep. So I think, well, retention is still not colored in because those we don't actually know until August, so it's always a delayed thing. But we had to keep it realistic because we're already in the 90s, and I'll just be honest, if we said we had 100% retention, we'd be lying. So somebody always leaves, but.
So we've had 95% retention rate for 2 consecutive years.
Yeah.
And Leah insisted on putting 90% on this because that was extremely high already, Mr. Munoz, and I agreed. It is extremely high already, so we're excited about our existing numbers, and we're looking to keep going.
I just needed to set a realistic expectation. Because anything over 90 is great out there in the HR world, so we're happy about that. I guess when it comes to retention, one of the things we heard, always is salaries, and I guess I just have to say this out loud into the mic. We did offer 2 salary schedules last year during Meet and Confer, which is a subset of bargaining, and we created one that maybe did a little bit more of what we were hoping to do with just one, I guess what you would call lane, so no differential between degrees. It included a percentage increase on salary. It included a step, and it started our new starting salary at $50,000. We also created one that was a mirror to the one that the union presented. However, we could not do CPI plus a step because our budget authority and our tough budget world that all school districts live in, we did still offer a smaller percentage on salary plus a step. And we did it to the granular level, where we did each single person and what they would make based on that. We are doing the same, again, based on what we were given and within our budget parameters, which have not come to you yet, but we are kind of working on the side to be ready.
I appreciate Leah bringing this up. That last year we did offer a salary schedule, actually 2 different salary schedules. We put almost 2 weeks of work into creating and offering 2 different salary schedules, and it's okay that it wasn't desired by the group. We continue to be an advocate for salary schedule inside of what the district can afford.
Yeah, so we will be doing that again, and thanks to Julie on my team for really taking the lead. She loves to work in spreadsheets and all those things. I don't. Then the other one was we did make a switch in our pharmacy. Unfortunately, every once in a while in HR, just like in finance, and our teams work well together, sometimes we're tasked with trying to help fix a budget situation. And we always try to tackle things that impact the classroom. Now, obviously, benefits are for staff, which impact the classroom, but in the long run, they are further away than some more direct things. So we did enter into a new pharmacy contract with Smith RX. We do have guaranteed savings of 26%, which equates to about $600,000. Asterisk, benefits run on a calendar year, not a school year, so those savings are realized in half over the course of this school year. And the next school year, I'm not going to pretend that we didn't have a few hiccups along the way for about the first month. Thanks to Melissa, my one-person benefits team, who was able to work through those issues with staff and with Smith RX to make sure that everybody got what they needed, covered at the level that they expected it to be covered. And if anybody did have an extra cost during that little window, that was corrected for them. So we seem to be running smoothly now. And interestingly enough, the area where there was a few hurdles was absolutely not the area that we expected the hurdles. So, you know, lesson learned to prepare for all possible situations, not just the ones you think might happen.
Yeah, and just to jump in, kudos to Leah and Caitlin for being all over this change. That if you'll remember last year, we had $1.5 million of additional RX spend that was unbudgeted, that we have mostly absorbed. And this Smith RX was the result of that, a 26% savings, $600,000 of built-in guaranteed savings. So kudos to Leah and Caitlin and their teams for collectively working through us. I mean, that 1.5 million in additional RX spend beyond what was budgeted. It's happening all over in the industry, but it's something that we needed to tackle here and did. So thank you to Leah and Caitlin and their teams for getting into that.
I'll leave it at that.
Any questions for Leah at all?
Yeah, 95% retention rate, fantastic job, Leah.
I did it myself, so thank you.
I understand.
Yeah.
You and your team. What are the percentages of our neighboring peers as far as retention rate? I know you do talk to your HR.
Yeah, so we will share that with each other more towards the end of the year. And when I joke about me, I really do think a lot of retention is at the school level. So, you know, great administrators, great fellow teachers, great educational assistants, school nutrition, custodial, everybody. So I do think the district provides a lot of great things for employees, but I do know when you go to work every day, it's the people that you see every day, you know, that really make a difference, and having great families and kids. That said, I'm in a group of 25. People were anywhere from 82 to 96. We were like way at the top. So I think I can bring last year's to another meeting. I just don't have them in my head, but we do have them shared with each other. But we're definitely way at like the top 2 or 3 out of my group of about 25. So
25 neighboring districts were top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That's great.
So they're definitely the ones that touch us. So we're mostly Waukesha and Milwaukee and a little bit of Washington and Ozaki. So
why don't we make a point to bring that back? We'll put it in future agenda items for the April meeting, the first meeting in April.
yeah, I looked at it like, you know, last August, so I don't totally remember, but we're in the top, so it was great to see.
Ms. Riebel?
Alex is waiting to go.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh.
Way better frame off of Amy anyways.
Okay, sorry.
He was like up and ready to go, but that's all right. All right, good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, at this time of year, we don't have any annual measures yet, but we did give the ACT and pre-ACT last week, and forward exam is happening now. So as soon as we have that data and are able to share that, of course, we'll bring that. I do want to highlight just a couple of things, because of course, there's always a lot going on with curriculum and learning. So there are a number of items on the strategic plan, and all are continuing to move along. In the yellow, or on the, just right on the very edge of being green.
But want to talk specifically about literacy and the professional learning that our teachers have done around early literacy. So our elementary teachers all participated in some early literacy training we started last winter and completed the last module around our February PD Day. And most of our teachers now have successfully completed their final exam, showing that they have mastered that content and are ready to apply it in their classrooms. So we have about 15 or so teachers yet to go, and they should all finish by the end of the year. So excited about that happening. That's been a lot of good learning, and we can see that learning being applied in conversations that we're having with teachers as we're addressing reading instructional needs of students, particularly at the early elementary, but all across elementary. At the secondary level, we've had a lot of learning around disciplinary literacy, so that literacy within those different content areas. And we had a partnership over the last 2 years with CISA 6 to have some professional learning that they share across the state, as well as some one-on-one consulting that they were able to do with teachers and our literacy coaches. And so that 2-year program has been successfully completed. Our work with disciplinary literacy, of course, will continue because those strong reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills we use all across our day, and we want to continue to infuse those in ways that make sense for our learners. So, but that's a successful piece that is wrapping up here at the end. And then, of course, talent development. As you know, we supported a new talent development coordinator this year, and she's been, we talked earlier this year, acclimating to Wisconsin and our processes here. She has been building her professional network. We made a few tweaks to our talent development guidebook that we shared within the Curriculum and Learning Board Committee.
And just to jump in, this more for everybody at home, talent development is previously known as gifted and talented. Yeah. So GT or gifted and talented. It's something that we're definitely pushing on. It came up in the strategic plan. It is something that we're leveraging going forward.
For sure. So she's also been able to do a number of just enrichment activities across different schools. So we had Hour of Code, the Spelling Bee, we had a Geography Bee just earlier this month at our 3 through 5 elementary schools. She's also been working quite a bit with individual teachers and helping consult around student needs. And we're just ready to start some formal identification processes for some students who are showing above and beyond kind of support needed to meet their needs in the classroom. So that, I think, will be happening very soon. So a lot of good things happening, and excited to continue the work and appreciate the support and partnership that we have with our administrators and our teachers, because that's where the work is really happening every day, and it's an honor to get to continue to support that work in partnership with them.
Any questions for Ms. Riebel? Curriculum?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, now can we have Alec?
Yep, Alec, sorry. Sorry, Alec, I have trouble turning my head to the right.
I don't that was my fault. All right, hi everyone. So special education's focus is really ensuring that our students with disabilities, their families, and our correlating staff members are included in these annual goal measures and objectives. So in order to support all students' growth in ELA, in math, and attendance, and those appropriate behaviors, we want to ensure that our IEPs are aligned to grade level standards. So we develop trainings for principals and assistant principals to provide necessary knowledge while in those IEP meetings to facilitate that standard alignment. There typically are LEA representatives in those meetings. It's good for them to have that knowledge at hand. And then we conducted IEP trainings for staff on a couple of different professional development days to hit all of our 3 through 21 staff, including related service providers, which illustrated how to incorporate those grade level standards into IEPs for that academic and social behavioral success. Then some other initiatives that we are continuing from last year. So in order to support that staff retention, we continued offering staff in their first 2 years of employment with the district, regular coaching with a support staff member, and then we are also offering special ed staff in their first 3 years in the profession, a spot in the special education teacher induction program through CISA 1, which has proven very successful and that we remain really excited about.
And then that's actually additional work. I mean, and retention, I mean, it's actually human resources, but in terms of, I mean, definitely through ALEC, definitely through the special education department, that some really tough positions and tough to fill, hard to fill positions in special education, and it's an area of focus for us, like a micro area of focus inside of staff, so.
Yes, well said. And then in order to support our two-way communication with family, we are continuing our collaboration with WISPE to hold parent engagement events. We actually have one coming up right after spring break. Our 5th grade families with IEPs are invited to North Middle School to talk about the transition process for our students with IEPs and to be able to ask specific questions towards teachers as well as families that have gone through the transition process.
I think it's a great idea. It's new. I even asked to have it put on my calendar, so I'm going to be there as well. So it's a great idea.
Any questions? All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Alec. All right, in terms of strategic plan, are there any general questions at all? In terms of us coming at the strategic plan, what I'm doing with the strategic plan and the building goals and the director's regular involvement coming to the board, it's not going to be a document that ever sits on the shelf. 3 times a year, we're going to continue bringing it back. Sometimes we'll have more data, you know, based on when the data drops and when we can put it up and make it available for anybody, for the public. Just like the parent caregiver survey. We have the information, we talk to Studer, we ask a lot of questions, and we're able to integrate that as part of the feedback so you can see how that's connected to the strategic plan. All right, any other questions at all?
As far as the feedback survey, the Studer survey, are there like comments that people can leave with that survey?
No.
Because it's hard for me to believe that only 49% of the respondents thought that the teachers, staff, and administration at the school demonstrated genuine concern for my child.
That's
Strongly.
That's strongly.
Not
That's
to
top
agree,
box.
agree.
It was actually in the over 80%. I'd have to look at the.
Oh, that was the, okay.
That's
all right.
top box.
All right.
So in other words, we look at 5s and 4s when we look at top 2 boxes.
Yeah.
So when I was on the ones, if we go back to the one slide, it's slide 10, I believe, or 11, slide 11. So on this box here, actually, no, I'm sorry, go back all the way up to slide 6, slide 5, 4. Sorry, my fault, I don't have it.
Right there, 7, I think.
Yeah, there. So the overall growth piece is, when you look at percentages for top box, you're just looking at strongly agree, not agree, or neutral. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Where are the percentages for the entire survey, though?
Yeah, we have them disaggregated with the principals by building.
Oh, okay.
By each individual feedback loop.
Okay.
So they have them all disaggregated, and part of the work is they have a similar slideshow to this presented by Studer that they're creating with their local, they have our data as well, but they also have their local data. And some of the buildings, like off the charts good,
right.
And some were okay, and obviously areas of focus in each of the different buildings. But I was just showing you overall snapshot of the whole district.
Okay.
Each individual building has all of their data breakouts, and they all have, when we were working with our Studer rep, they were all trained, or they know about using this similar slide deck with the district information, and then putting their information in from each individual building.
Okay.
Getting some feedback from PTOs probably, or leadership teams or their staff about, here's what the parents are saying about our schools, so that we can build that in to our plans for future years, and obviously make targeted improvements.
Okay.
So if this is a Studer presentation, I mean, I realize it's our data, and you're using a lot of theirs, I would recommend to them, I kind of agree with Travis, like getting a presentation that says 40-some% strongly agree. I would rather find out about who agrees. I'll be honest, when I fill out most surveys, if it's based 1 to 5, I rarely give a 5. If it's based 1 to 10, I rarely give a 10, because there's always room for improvement.
Absolutely.
So I'll give a 9, or I'll give a 4. And so, I mean, I think I would rather see an answer of who agrees with the statement, and that would be agree and strongly agree, and maybe even, include neutral as well. So I mean, this,
Like I can talk to our student rep. Like I said, this is independently sent back to us, so we don't manipulate how they structure the data sets. But we can definitely
I would
give
give them
them.
that feedback. That I mean,
I think that aligns to how we measure proficiency and display it as well as a data point, because we look at proficiency as proficient plus high proficiency, and so having that same approach makes the numbers a little bit easier to interpret consistently. But great.
Got it. But even so, I believe the school is clean and well maintained. 49% strongly agree. They've never been to the high school. I mean, the place is immaculate.
Yeah, and each individual building has their own breakouts. This is the whole district. So
Yeah.
I would say that for people to be giving 5s at an almost 50% rate, that's pretty good. I'd be interested in the top 2 boxes, which is what you're saying, this is what you're both saying, is that you'd probably be more interested in the top 3 boxes, which is neutral, above average, and I'm really excited.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's no way to leave a comment during this survey?
No.
That would be helpful too. I mean, you can say something something is wrong, but if you're not going to leave the comment about why it's wrong, then we have no way of fixing it.
Yep, we'll give the feedback. Like I said,
I understand.
We're using their set product, but I'm writing a note here and we have a meeting with our student rep coming up. It was delayed. It was supposed to be Friday, but it got pushed a little bit.
all right. Any other comments or questions, feedback? Okay. Well, then we'll move on to item E, which is the 2026-27 Certified Staffing Plan for issuing employee contracts and school board resolution. And it looks like Leah is on her way.
Yep, we'll call Leah up here. We had talked about this in committee. There have been a few changes, slight changes, but Leah will reference those things.
Yeah. Yes, so I've probably said it 100 times. I consider this a living document. We're always doing our best effort at each moment in time as we come to the board, mostly because it is a tough recruiting season every year, and so we want to get out there to have our postings up, have people applying, and, lock in our staff for next year as quickly as we can.
Trust me, all the principals and hiring administrators are waiting for this vote so they can post.
There's going to be a lot of things going live tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why we kind of talk about the fact that, well, we don't 100% know all of our enrollment, especially at, kind of our kindergarten and 5K levels in March, but we do our best to anticipate those things, and then we come to you, and so we can get out there to market as quickly as possible while still staying within the budget parameters that we have set and the FTE that we have set. If for some reason we were to add something based on enrollment, usually we feel that then the money per pupil is kind of helping to balance out those changes. So the first page is the big summary pages across all of the categories in the schools. There is already a change because, it's living, and then on Friday it lives some more after it was posted. So that number in the yellow at the very far right bottom says negative 5.7 change over last year. It is now negative 5.29. We added back 0.41 FTE into special ed at Ben Franklin. These are not shocking changes, but they are necessary just based on some information. And so we figured we would bring it since we knew it.
So that's that slight change from the committee meeting to now.
So you're welcome, special ed staff. At BF, you'll be getting a little extra FTE assistance.
So the number on the board is correct. Your actual paper packets are the ones.
Oh, this is what they have in paper.
Oh, they're accurate?
I didn't want to change it so people.
Got it.
I wanted to say it live so people didn't think something hinky happened, in between the postings. So then page 2, I'm going to be honest, that's kind of the boring page we're going to go past. That's just like the math. Sorry, Caitlin. I like that page. That page is the math, and I think it's boring. I think we just got to the pages that everybody looks to for all the juicy information, who's leaving and retiring. So at the very top, we have the places where we needed to add FTE. So you can see those areas. Usually it's where sections have been added or we see an increase in our special ed needs. Then the big meaty section, we have 17 retirements and 9 resignations for 26 total things happening. In the second to the right category, that's where you see what we're gonna do. Are we posting it? Are we reducing it? Are we transferring it? Or did we somehow already hire it? It's amazing. We actually already hired somebody like months ago to be the tech ed teacher for next year.
Was that Carter?
That is Carter. He's on, far right Carter. So we will be back up to 2 tech ed teachers at the high school for next year. He's very excited. And we were excited as well. It is literally the hardest to fill position in a school district across the state. And then the last page shows in green a few more ads where we're adding FTE to positions that already exist, overloads at the middle school, and then just some very tiny fractional adds to some other things. And then in the red is where you'll see the reductions that we're making, and then in 2 different groups. So those are all the things where it says to be reduced on the page before it. These are the things that are actually being reduced. So this is where we ask you for your approval to hire within this total FTE for next school year starting tomorrow. And through that, we have the resolution that we ask you to approve and then sign, saying that we don't need to come back to a board meeting to approve every single individual teacher contract. That is a nightmare. I mean, mostly for me, but really what it delays is actually sending someone back a signed and binding contract that they're actually working for the district. So, if we only have 1 board meeting a month, that means somebody could wait a whole month before their contract was approved. And, I hate to say it, but it's competitive out there. So I can't have somebody else getting to them in that time in between. So
and we've done this document for multiple years, and it does allow us to move very quickly.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been my 6th, but it was done before me. So it's been a great historical practice that we have that lets us feel confident that the people we're offering employment to, both us and them, feel secure in knowing they have a board-approved contract. That's it for me.
Questions?
Can I just ask, the reduction of the reading teacher at BF with the retirement, what's the, I guess, the support for like the just literacy education at that level, or is that, I know we added the administrative positions, does that roll into that, or?
Yes, so we're doing some shifts. So, I mean, as everybody knows, budgets are a little tight, and so we try to take advantage of attrition, the people who are naturally leaving us every year, because once again, we are fortunate. I know somebody mentioned to me, how is it that it's always happening? I don't know, it's luck. But we take advantage of attrition whenever it happens, so that this year, just like in years past, we don't have any operational non-renewals, which I think the rest of the world calls layoffs. So we're thankful for that. We knew that we needed to start making some changes with coaching and intervention in the district. It wasn't necessarily happening in any specific year. We were not anticipating both people retiring in the same year. But since they did, we're taking advantage of that. And these are people who are, we're now going to be kind of focusing more FTE into intervention at the actual student level with student and teacher intervention time, and taking a little bit of a percentage off of coaching of teachers. So we still have lots of coaches in the district and a heavy focus on literacy, but we're actually kind of reconfiguring some of this FTE to be pushed back in to actual student minutes of intervention time. So we feel like everybody will still be supported and more kids can have more time that they need. So
I think that's an important point, that it's because it says reading teacher, but that's really, that was more of a coaching position.
So this is
We're not
mostly
necessarily
coaching.
Coaching teachers, and we're not taking away from students.
No, we're actually going to be increasing intervention time for students and decreasing a little bit of teacher coaching time.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also I just want to reiterate, with a good majority of districts laying off teachers, we have no teacher layoffs or preliminary layoffs. We're in a very advantageous position to not have to do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and that brings us to the close of the discussion items, and now we're at our invitation for statements and comments from the audience. We only have one, so I'm not going to read the general guidelines. I think we have a repeat commenter, and so it is Kathy McBride, and I believe you know the rules. So you have 3 minutes on the clock, and we're all very excited to hear what you have to say this evening.
Well, I'm here to tell the community that for the first time in the past 4 election cycles this year, the tradition of our community forums was revitalized. March 2026, Menomonee Falls held 2 successful school board forums where 6 candidates showed up to answer questions proposed by many engaged and diverse citizens. Both evenings, held in our Menomonee Falls Library, were filled to standing room only. From the 4 individuals who believe bringing forums back was important, to the citizens who walked through Menomonee Falls to spread the word, to the on-site forum volunteers, including high school students, and finally to the over 200 constituents who curiously cared enough to show up. Engaged citizens came together to see what 6 candidates had to say. Here's a shout out to Chris for doing his work on the 2 evenings, and all these forums will be posted, are posted that night and subsequently to watch the forums. FYI, today there have been over 1,189 views. People want to learn, understand, and become educated and ultimately determine who are the 3 candidates they will choose. I hope that our current school board members attended or watched the live stream, not only to learn more about the individuals they may be working with, but to hear what the community wants to learn, because the topics were vast, from advocating for fair funding to being equally concerned about potential ICE issues, from school board trusting the expertise of our teachers to putting that trust at the forefront of policy and committee decisions, from focusing on student mental health solutions to community requests to please steer clear of agenda-driven beliefs for curriculum content decisions. It all is about hope and trust that you school board members will be making these decisions together with our hired professionals in their classrooms while remaining responsible stewards of the laws, policies, committee work, and taxpayer funds. The message from our community is loud and clear. We want two-way constructive conversations within a format that may at times include thoughtful, respectful disagreement, but that could strengthen better decision-making. Will we keep moving forward in this direction even after the 3 new board members join your team? All our students deserve the best education based on statutes, policies, decisions by school board members who come to us with financial and classroom-based experiences. Please exhibit your willingness to hear what teachers, staff, students, fellow administrators, and your community have to ask and offer, so our students are prepared for the real life they can work for and deserve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was something.
Okay, and that brings us to action items. So the first item is, let's see, I will need a motion to approve the first read preliminary approval of the Neola 6,000 administrative guidelines as presented.
I'll motion.
Motion by Board Member Holzman,
I'll second.
seconded by Board Member Kramer. Any comments or discussion? Again, on the 6,000. Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that is unanimous. All right, move on to the next item, B. I'm going to need a motion to approve the first read preliminary approval of the Neola 7,000 administrative guidelines as presented.
I'll motion.
Again, motion by Board Member Holzman.
I'll second.
Oh, boy. Who's going to get that one? All right, we're going to give the second to Board Member Wren. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that is also unanimous. All right, we'll move on to item 3, and let's see if I can do this one. I'm going to need a motion to approve the first read preliminary approval of the Neola 8,000 administrative guidelines as presented, less the administrative guideline 8410H.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're removing 8410H.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion by Board Member Kramer.
I'll second.
Seconded by Board Member Wappert. Any comments or discussion here? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that also passes unanimously. All right, item D. I'm going to need a motion to approve the 2026-2027 Certified Staffing Plan and Board Member Resolution to allow for the issuance of the corresponding teacher and administrator contracts as presented. Motion by Board Member Wren.
No second.
Second by Board Member Langer. Any discussion or comments?
I just want to say, thank you for being so prepared for this, because it does help us to prepare for the future. It's just good to know that we have a family already. Ready to go. We're ready.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that also passes unanimously.
There we go.
All right, moving to item E, vouchers payable.
Yeah, I'd like to make motion to approve voucher payables in the amount of $2,219,029.64.
All right, motion and seconded. Further discussion or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that also passes unanimously. And that will bring us to our consent agenda. Everyone's had a chance to review the items. Looks like we're approving just the minutes from the last meeting. Everybody was in attendance? No? Okay, Board Member Holzman will be abstaining from this vote. I do need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll motion.
Motion by Board Member Wappert, second by Board Member Round. Comments or discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that also passes unanimously. Brings us to future agenda items. Anybody have anything? I know we marked something down earlier.
We have comps for retention.
There we go.
From last year from area districts and counties.
Okay.
That'll be at the April meeting.
Okay. Anything else?
We have 2 committee meetings the rest of this week. I think CNL is Wednesday, and I know policy is Thursday.
All right, and that brings us to the end of our meeting. I'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.